찍었어. 그만.
The whole fountain out here, and then some statuary and those stands right below. Those stands would have had statues of the moon goddess Diana from Greek mythology. And those statuary, by the way, can now be seen at Forest Lawn in Glendale. Californians were going to create the next great culture in this world, thinking that the last great culture was in the Mediterranean Sea with the Grecian, Roman, and Egyptian culture. And so they imagined that the Pacific Ocean was the Mediterranean Sea. So Hearst builds on this hilltop starting in 1920 a village, a Mediterranean village. And so they build up here until 1947, 1920 until 47 with that bridge. Up here, by the way, total about 50,000 square feet, or excuse me, 4 buildings. Main building and then 3 smaller guest cottages. All 4 buildings total about over 50,000 square feet. And so the main building alone is over 42. Generally overgrowth everywhere, which is typical of Spanish or Italian style. What's interesting about creating that village for this hilltop is this hilltop looked pretty much like the one right across from it originally. See how barren it is with some scrub oak and almost nothing else? That's what this hill looked like pretty much originally. To create a lush bush of trees, about 80 different varieties of trees. You can see a lot of those there. 5 miles of hedges here on the hill. Hilltop, and the dates down at the bottom if you're curious. And anyway, that's carved a pure white Carrara marble, that rare, very valuable marble from the area. Mountain is a good idea. The one on the right. Highest mountain in the area. You'll notice most of the main building looks much smoother and much more like a castle or a cathedral. So we'll talk about that. But anyway, the main building, I mentioned 150 rooms, 37 bedrooms, all of that again. 31 rooms in the servants' wing. right below the Dale Railroad station, and Hearst had a private railroad car, and you would ride up in that, up to San Luis Obispo. And at that point, the train goes up to, not anyway, you get to the bottom of the hill, the limousine picks you up, drives you up the road you guys drove up on, and you go up, and then you go right to that morning room door, as I mentioned. And there, the butler would be with a clipboard, and he would have your room assignment and a service hilltop, actually. He was hosting year-round. No, he was hosting year-round, so you might come up here sometime during July and never find me. And that was okay. He just wanted to entertain the guests. Look at the side of the building here, and you see that facade over the concrete on the building. Those are 2-inch thick slabs of Utah limestone to give it a castle-like look. And also a teakwood gable, which outlines the third floor where Hearst lived. And yeah, and you'll also see more teakwood on the front. Then I will go down in this area. One of the best shots of the front of the house is right down in this area.
Take a picture there.
That's one of the reasons Hearst built on the hilltop, because you can't get water from
Up here.
And I showed you the mountain where the spring came from. Eventually the water
네. 조심해야 돼. 괜찮아? 아빠 손 작거든.
And starting back in the 1870s, the family picnicked on these hilltops, and that was the site of Hearst's tent. And so he stayed in that cottage. And anyway, this is where he stayed in the early years, and then between 1945 and 1947, the last 3 years that Hearst was up here, he doesn't go back up. One of the bedrooms in this guest cottage, and this area was used for the nurse, and I can't remember her name, who watched over Marion Davies the last few years on this hilltop. I apologize for that lapse in memory. Anyway, this would have been her area. Marion Davies would live up on the next floor, so she's going to stay down here. Anyway, called the Hero Ceiling. Figures from the heroes of the Spanish Empire. So that's why the Hero Ceiling. Now, by the way, plaster of Paris, but you notice some gold up there. We have a little rule up here on the hilltop. And we say simply that if it looks like gold, it generally is. Painted right on the ceiling, 22-karat gold leaf. I really should at this point in the tour. Hearst married originally a woman in 22 years, and they had 5 sons. So anyway, after 1925, the Hearst separated family homes, and after 1925, up here with Hearst, the hostess up here, and his girlfriend. The relationship at this point, everybody tends to agree that it was more paternalistic. We ran out first. He's 34 years older than Mary Davies, so it's not a convenient arrangement in that sense, an arrangement of convenience, if you will. It is not his concubine, if you will, if you want that phrase. And what Hearst does, large flamboyant public figure, certainly you have to have a large ego and a sense of vanity to be that sort of large public figure. So okay, there's mirrors in the bathrooms and things, but wouldn't that be a great mirror to go along with someone's ego? Right there, 19th century Spanish mirror frame. Exotic birds, that's a very rare green color called celadon, that's jade. Those were carved in China in the 19th century, and originally not lamps, just those little statuary there, and then the from Greek mythology, symbols of the goodness in men's and women's souls. Sculpted by a man named Boyer in the time of Napoleon, that's known as the Neoclassic era, and he modeled the work after a man by the name of Canova, who was the greatest sculptor in that time. Boyer after Canova. Anyway, what we're in front of is one of the simply out here in the garden area to decorate one of the other statuary. Let's go on in here and read and talk. I know it seems a little crazy in the age of MTV, but that's what this room is used for. So, thank you for having me. I appreciate that. 3 chests here I find really interesting. They're very pretty, of course. They're called Cushonis. This plumbing innovation at that time. Did you guys notice showers here?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to walk out of here, but stop in front of the... pool, the white marble is also marble from Vermont. The reason we know is marble from Vermont has gray streaks in it. It's kind of a dirty marble. So. I'm sorry, I'm doing the mundane things I should be talking to you folks. Okay, this is the outdoor swimming pool. It's called the Neptune pool, and that's because right there in the very center of that temple is the god of the sea, Neptune, in Greek mythology. And this pool, I have no other way of putting it, it was designed really around that temple. That temple is the only thing that's antique out there. William Randolph Hearst bought it from a New York City art dealer. What it is different pieces of 2,000-year-old Grecian and Roman temples. Yeah, and a New York City art dealer put it together, and then Hearst bought it from him.
It looks like they had a piece of, it almost looks like there's an alcove right in the center where you would have a piece of statuary in the far center.
On the far center. Actually, there's some statuary here in this alcove, and then so out here is a guest facility. And go swimming. Maybe. I'm trying to remember whether I actually see. Part of the thing is, generally you drink and eat in these buildings. Legal authority.
이게 스위밍풀이야, 이게. 인도어 스위밍풀?
On the diving platform, strike to the base of the wall, stand down here, and what the heck, the next camera you're coming. Thank you so much for coming. Your big bus is right out there.
Anyway, this was the longest construction project here in the top 5 years.
이 밑에 카펫을 깔아놓은 거야?
깊이가
얼마나 예쁜데? 그냥 예쁠 것 같다, 그치?
You only put the showers that way in the alcove. So some, yeah, of course, thank you for coming on the tour. There are really tours that goes up. I encourage you to do that. You guys are really good. Please do
That's the best way to get your money. And in fact, his father, George, had assembled the largest. As you probably noticed by now, it is enchanting. First, spent 27.5 years here planning it. And the first thing that Mr. Hearst did when he inherited the property was to build guest cottages and then a large house. Standing in front of the Casa del Sol, House of the Sun. Each guest cottage looks out at a particular view of this hilltop. From this one, at the center point here in the sitting room window, you see beautiful sunsets. The object is, of course, to take out that art collection from New York, bring it across the country by railroad cars, then place them take them into San Francisco, put them on postal more, all kinds of many different richest men. Gold, silver, just discarding. He knew it was silver. He purchased a small plot of land there and struck one of the largest veins of the Comstock silver. But that gold mine turned out to be the largest producing gold mine in the world. Woman to graduate from the University of California with a degree in civil engineering. Then she broke the female barrier at one of the greatest institutes of architecture in the world at the time, the Beaux-Arts Center in Paris. She sent in her application, J. Morgan. They expected a man, of course. A woman wouldn't have a nerve to get into the architectural field. That was reserved for men. she pulled them all. She graduated, of course, with honors, and she was the first graduate of that institution. Like I say, 47 years of age when she came here. The engineer had until Mr. Hearst said, yeah, that's about right. The first one was a cloverleaf design to go with that something a little more permanent here. Well, Mr. Hearst was 56, married to Mrs. Wilson. He had 5 sons. The 5 sons said, oh, Debbie, it's 10 feet deep at that far end. You're looking at 345,000 gallons of mountain pure spring water. Water is important wherever you live, but it's really important in the San Lucia Mountains. Now, one of the reasons George purchased this property was the fact that there are activities. They weren't really prepared for it. He was. The guests were told to climb the stairs, go beyond that wooden door. They found 17 separate dressing rooms. That's the bathhouse. Not only that, they found racks of brand new bathing suits for everyone. You used them, took them home as souvenirs. You want to climb these stairs to get an overview of the pool. Take a look at the alcove on your left. Charles Cassou, 1930. Birth of Vegas. The fourth of Spain, his sister across the way, would become Empress of Hungary, Maria Theresa, quite a personage in the history of Spain. You're doing very well. This is kind of a walkthrough, kind of an experience to get you. The boy on the right would become Philip IV of Spain. Across the room, his sister would become Empress of Hungary. Imagine camellia hedges right here. Camellias. Yeah, they just blossomed about a month ago. Yeah. And bougainvillea on this side, getting the direct sun has blossomed. So it's going to be a little late on this side. But notice that color of the bougainvillea. It's the same color that in relation to the other guest cottages, one on each side. So Julie Morgan said, well, we can fix it, put a little more elevation. They had, of course, tear off the roof, build up the elevation on the 2 towers, and then put the spiral staircases up. There's 3/4 size furniture in those small rooms and a 3/4 size bath for children. Hearst had 5 sons, 2 survive today, Bill Jr. and Randolph, who's now chairman of the Hearst Corporation, one of the largest privately owned family corporations in the world. Okay, Art Deco fountain designed by the architect. Lots of these tiles were designed expressly for this image from Egypt. And beyond Sekhmet is the main terrace. This is our break. We're going to sit on some marble benches up here. We have 2 water fountains. And once your foot hits the top of this level, the smoking lamp is lit. Yes, we have Sanders up here. You had to come into this place here. No eating in any of the guest cottages or even in your guest accommodations in this house. No room service. Surprised a lot of people. Hearst made it very clear you had come to visit someone's home. They don't put any special table out for you. You eat at their table. Wait till you see his table. Tremendous. You notice the front and side of the building's complete. To the right, the servants' wing. Above the kitchen, there's over 30 rooms completed there for a staff of about 30 household staff members. On the left, also, the north wing, unfinished. You see sheets of Utah limestone used to protect the raw concrete beyond it. This is a modern constructed building of concrete reinforced steel. One of the reasons this man waited and was persistent in getting Julia Morgan from San Francisco to accept this commission. She was well versed in this new technology. Rebars in concrete, unheard of. She was using it in San Francisco prior to 1906. Guess whose buildings were still standing unaffected by fire? Julia Morgan's. That's why she turned down this commission twice. She was too busy. The front door of his home is a 300-year-old Spanish convent gate. And Mr. Hearst could be found right beyond that beautiful teak in the front. The teak probably from Burma.
But that shows you Mr. Hearst's private quarters on the 3rd floor. The teak carved in San Francisco by Jules Suppo, one of those 30 master craftsmen. In fact, Mr. Hearst loved that teak so much that he had it going all the way around the 3rd floor. We just heard these bells. They're played on a keyboard in the billiard room, which will pass presently. There's 18 of them in each tower. Each one is hooked up to an electric. You're now in Mr. Hearst's assembly room. The room had many, many purposes. The first purpose, as you see, was to display the art. It was designed around the art, designed around tapestries. This man collected in over 400 different art categories and tapestries beneath the parade. He had over 200 world-class tapestries. He's depicted in each panel with the blue cape and gold stars. These tapestries were started in the weaving process in 1510. It took over 40 years to weave just one of them. Incredible, as you can see. A little later in time, really no one really remembers or can recall Giulio Romano, the designer of these great tapestries, but many of us can recall who Sir Peter Paul Rubens was, a fine artist. He did the cartoon and drawing of that beautiful tapestry, the triumph of religion, the Catholic religion in the chariot with the cross, writing over all the old pagan gods. But Hearst was a comedian. He loved a good joke, and in fact, he liked mythology. He named the pool the Neptune pool, and he gave the ancient gods their due in that tapestry on the far south wall. That's a contest between Poseidon or Neptune and Athena. It was to determine what gift these two gods could come up with. So please, man. Now, as I said, a place to show off his artwork. Also, a place where his guests could come anytime, but more importantly, at the end of the day. Around 7:30, 8 o'clock, all the adult guests were told to meet their host in this room. So they all gathered here. I apologize to you for bringing you through the side door. Mr. Hearst's guests, of course, came through the front door. But you must understand, in that little lobby is laid down an almost 2,000-year-old Roman mosaic floor. It's taken us 2 years to reconstruct that floor.